A German court has sentenced an army officer to 5.5 years in prison for planning a terrorist attack. Prosecutors say the officer posed as a Syrian refugee and targeted multiple politicians. The case shocked Germans and stirred up a debate about the depth of right-wing radicalism in the country's military.
It is the end of one of the most extraordinary cases of far-right terrorism in Germany. Bundeswehr soldier Franco A has been sentenced to 5.5 years behind bars. His crime: plotting to conduct a terror attack while posing as a refugee. The court found him guilty of planning attacks on high-ranking German politicians and also of illegally possessing weapons.
The court is convinced that the defendant wanted to commit a politically motivated act of violence. Judges made clear that he also harbored a nationalist and right-wing extremist ideology.
Although the jail sentence was below the more than 6 years that prosecutors had asked for, they called the verdict a major success.
I am quite satisfied with the verdict, despite a lower sentence than the one that we asked for. It is an important success in the fight against right-wing extremism, racism and anti-Semitism in Germany.
Franco A said he regretted hoarding the weapons, but has consistently denied planning any attacks. For protesters standing in front of the courtroom, this is not an isolated case, but a case that shines a light on far-right extremism in the German military.
Earlier, I spoke to Lorenz Blumenthaler from the Amadeo Antonio Foundation. That's an NGO that monitors far-right extremist activity in Germany. And I asked him what he thought about the court's verdict.
Well, I guess on the one hand, I'm a little relieved. And I mean, it's kind of scary to walk into an office every day that you know about that it has been spied on by a far-right terrorist who has been now also acknowledged by the court plotting crimes against the state and against politicians and my boss. So I actually feel a little safer in my skin now. But then on the other hand, I think that the sentence could have been higher and that especially the investigations cannot stop at that moment, because I think there are far too many open questions that still remain to be answered by.
You were mentioning the open questions there. Sorry, you're mentioning the open questions there. It's interesting. Do you think the authorities have done enough to investigate all the circumstances of Franco A's activities?
Not at all. I mean, we have so many open ends. If you follow the case closely, you know that Franco A, for instance, acknowledged that he possessed far more weapons, that he has been in chat groups within the German military where they exchanged further terror plans and plotted so-called Stay X, where they would strike with weapons and kill multiple politicians. And all of these connections, also his connections to Russia, his connections into the AfD, that's something that still remains to be resolved in a way, or at least investigated. And I think we need a different culture within the German military to openly address these questions, because otherwise I think it is very hard to trust the German military if we know, or at least we have to suspect, that there are far-right networks within the German military.
Is this you don't think this is an isolated case? You think it's a problem that goes through the whole of the armed forces?
Yeah, definitely. I think that was the thing that I was most scared about in the verdict, that it would have been treated as just an individual case and not a structural problem within the German military. Because, I mean, due to amazing research done by German newspapers, we know about the Hannibal network, about at least 4 different big chat groups that Franco A also was a part of, that they met. And all of these people, they are trained on guns, they have access to guns, they prepared safe houses for potential day X, they partly bought storage for potential corpses. And I think all of these questions in a way need to be resolved. I mean, it was clear that it couldn't happen just through this one case, but I think it is kind of remarkable that the international attention towards the case and to Franco A has been much stronger than the German public interest in the case.
Thank you very much, Lorenz Blumenthaler from the Amadeo Antonio Foundation here in Germany. Thank you.
Thank you very much.